Dallas Stars hockey team for the 2017-2018 hockey season, which is a week away, guys. Time definitely flies. It's been a long time since uh, hockey's been around. June, so it's been a while. A lot has happened in the last few months, up to the start of the season, which will start on October 4th, which I believe is really early in the year. Um, because usually it starts second week of October, but it's starting early, which I'm not complaining. The more hockey, the better. Um, so first of all, just introductions. My name's Andrew. I'm a huge Dallas Stars fan. I bleed green, amongst other loyalties in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I'll be making videos hopefully every Saturday night to recap the weekday hockey games, as well as ask for your comments and thoughts on how you think the season will go. And this is open to anyone who is an avid NHL fan. Preferably, I'd like Dallas Stars fans, but I'd like to hit everyone, every fan base. Give me your input, give me your output. I'm open to it. Uh, but I'm going to be talking mostly Dallas Stars hockey because that's the team that I root for. So let's just dive right in and get into it. So last season was not good. Started off with a lot of injuries to star players, and we just couldn't get into rhythm, couldn't get a win streak to save our lives. So 2 years ago, we were first, and then we dropped to almost last. Not last, but it felt like last. So this offseason, we made a lot of changes over the summer. And Jim Nill, I love Jim Nill as our GM. He did a fantastic job getting the pieces that I think we need to make a run this year. Ken Hitchcock is back, guys. The coach who coached us to the '99 Stanley Cup and against Buffalo, he's back. He's back for round two, guys, and I feel this is a good omen. Not only is it a good omen that he came back and they hired him, but it's the 25th year since the Stars have been in Dallas, and I feel like that is an even bigger, better omen for what's to come. So Hitchcock is back for round two. Definitely a defensive-minded coach, which I think is great. We have the offense. We need the defense. Um, so Hitchcock was the first big piece that we needed. Second, we got Ben Bishop. Ben Bishop is a great goaltender. Now, the one caveat, the one worry, is that he's been injured the last few years. He hasn't remained healthy, and I'd like for him to remain healthy for a whole season. And he does have the playoff experience. He knows how to win. Vezina Trophy candidate. He knows how to win. So game Ben Bishop, and there were rumors that we were going to get him last year, but I think it was better that we waited till the end of the year, end of the season to get him, and we didn't have to give up much for him, and I love it. I love that. I love the idea of picking up Bishop. He's a great key piece. He will help the goaltending so much, and he'll help. And the defense also is going to be improved because we got Mark Mathot, a big physical defenseman from Ottawa who was with Erik Karlsson all last season, and they got to the conference finals against Pittsburgh. So Mathot has playoff experience as well, and he has veteran leadership. And we're going to discuss line combinations in a little bit, but I definitely feel like him paired up with Klingberg, who I feel is another Erik Karlsson in and of himself. You know, he's only going to get better. And having Karlsson as that, or having Mathot as his mentor, will just help him a lot too. And then we picked up Martin Hansel from the Wild for 3 years, 3-year deal. He's great in the faceoff dot, and I feel like in shorthanded situations, he's the go-to guy. Him and Foxa, I feel like, will be the big centers that we will rely on this season in the faceoff circle and shorthanded situations. Tyler Pitlick was an interesting one, I thought. He hasn't made much of a splash, but I feel like he could. And we'll talk about breakout stars for this season, but I feel like he could be a key piece very small but very key piece in the wheel this year. And then another big offseason acquisition, which I think was huge for us, was getting Alexander Radulov from the Montreal Canadiens. And I was following this story a lot. Having Jamie and Jordy Ben playing hockey to determine where Radulov would go. I just thought that was hilarious. But getting Radulov is huge. He's a big, physical, talented winger. Um, and people are already talking about, Ben Sagan Radulov. Watch out. That's going to be a top line to be scared of. Um, so those are the major acquisitions we got. The major pieces that I feel like we could contend for a Stanley Cup this season, and I feel it's possible. I definitely feel it's possible. Now, when I get to when I actually get to division predictions and actual predictions for the year, that's when it's going to get a little dicey. Because there's just so many changes. So many teams made moves. So many teams didn't make moves. Washington Capitals. We'll get to them in a little bit, but there have been a lot of changes now, and every offseason it's always different. Um, so that's some of the things that happened in the offseason. So just recently, we just finished up preseason. Stars played their last preseason game tonight against the Wild. They didn't do very well, but preseason is preseason. They're going to make their decisions. They're going to cut down their roster, but feel like this is a good time to go about possible line combinations. Talk about those. So I don't think it's it's a surprise, but Ben Sagan Radulov, I think that is going to be one of the best top lines in the NHL. Ben has been a force to be reckoned with since he came into the league. He got the C in 4 years ago. He got the C for captain, and he deserves it. On and off the ice, he's a model. He's a model to the NHL. Sagan, one of the prime sharpshooters in the NHL, and of course the new acquisition Radulov. That's going to be a scary line. If they can get the chemistry early in the season, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I don't care what top defensive pairs get assigned to them, they won't stop them. You could stop Bang, you could stop Sagan, but stopping all three, good luck. I feel like that would be the top line. The second line is pretty interesting, in my opinion, and I feel like it's solid. Spezza with Janmark and Ritchie. Brett Ritchie did pretty well last year, despite the fact that there were a lot of injuries going around. He had, I think, 16 goals last season. I feel like he could easily increase that to mid to high 20s, maybe even crack 30 this year. Janmark, I'm glad he's come back. He had a rookie season, I think, to die for 2 years ago. He came onto the scene, scored his first goal on his first shot. Not a lot of rookies do that. Um, he was a great two-way player. Smart with the puck, fast, speedy. I saw a couple highlights from the preseason this year with Janmark, and I feel like he's good. I feel like he's good to go. He's ready to come back and make an impact, and I feel like he could do that with Spezza. They had chemistry 2 years ago. I definitely feel like Janmark and Spezza can mesh really well, and I think Ritchie adds that physicality, that that little physicality and rigidness and edginess that will make that line a force to be reckoned with. I feel like if Janmark, Spezza, Ritchie, if all of them, contribute, that puts less stress on the top line. And then defensive pairs will have to figure out, who are we going to partner up with, and who are we going to put here, who are we going to put there? Because if the second line starts scoring and producing, then they might have to put their first D pair on the second line, and then that opens up the door for Ben Sagan and Radulov. So, there's potential. There's breakout potential for that second line, definitely, and definitely a bounce back season for Spezza. Spezza did not have a good season last year. 2 years ago, he had over 30 goals. I think he could get back to that this year. The third line, I'm not sure what Hitchcock's thinking for the third. The bottom six, I'm not sure. These are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. Um, Roussel, Hansel, and Shore. Now, I love Antoine Roussel. Roos, he is phenomenal. I love him. He's a great agitator, physical. He gets in people's faces. He gets on their nerves. I love him. I always get him on my fantasy team every year because he does things that no other person can do. And that is give me penalty minutes, give me hits, give me the goals every now and then. He had 2 seasons ago, he had like 7 or 8 game-winning goals. Um, I may have exaggerated there, but he had a good 5 or 6, and then they were the dirty kind. He did have a hat trick last season against the Tampa Bay Lightning when Dave Strader came back to to do the play-by-play, and that was a great moment for him, and definitely a great moment for Dave Strader. I am praying for that guy to beat cancer and to hopefully come back to the booth because as Stars fans, we all miss him, and we are all rooting for him. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see Devin Shore. He has done nothing but great things since he's come into the lineup. Um, he reminds me a little bit of Yuri Lettinen, who we're going to be retiring his jersey this year. But he reminds me a little bit of Yuri Lettinen because he's a great two-way forward. Now he may not have the scoring capabilities, but he definitely knows where to be at the right time. And then the fourth line, I'm not sure what the fourth line looks like, but I know according to what Hitchcock said early on, um, Foxa is going to be the center, and I put Pitlick and McKenzie. Now I know Cracknell is in the lineup. I know he's on the team. I just don't know if they're gonna have Fox and Cracknell together and then have Pitlick finish up that line. I'm not sure. That is open to discussion. What are your thoughts on the forward combinations? Who do you think would make a great line? Who do you think would pair up really well? Um, Give me your thoughts. Give me your suggestions. This is open debate. I don't mind talking about it. And if you have any questions at all, post in the comments. I'd like to read them, and I'll see what I can do in terms of answering your questions. I'll do the best I can. Okay, so that was the forward lines. Now to the D pairs, and I feel like with the addition of Mathot and what I've heard so far from preseason about what Alexiak's been doing, this D pairs here look pretty solid. Klingberg and Mathot, I feel like that would be solid. I feel like Klingberg, like I said, next to Erik Karlsson, definitely has the ability to move the puck swiftly out of the zone. He has a great shot, great on the power play, looks up, passes to the wide open person. He has great speed, great skill. He definitely is going to improve from last season. He did not have a great season last. A lot of players did not have a good season last season. Um, but he definitely has the potential to be a top five. And I kid you not, he could be a top five defenseman this year. Probably won't win awards at the end of the year, but he definitely is solid. Thought with him, great mentor. The second pair I find to be very interesting, Lindell and Alexiak. According to Hitchcock, Alexiak has been tremendous in training camp and tremendous in the preseason. He's been where he's supposed to be. He's done what he's supposed to do. So he's impressed Hitchcock. So he's cracked it. He's cracked the lineup. He definitely has made an impact. He's definitely shown that he is meant to play, and he's deserved it. So Lindell and Alexiak looks to be a pair. And then the third pair I have listed right now is Hamhuis and Johns. And Hamhuis is another veteran with experience. I feel like he's going to have a breakout year, a breakout season. And Steven Johns has been he's a fighter. He loves to hit. He has a hard shot. Um, I think that there's some sneaky sleeper value there having Hamhuis and Johns on the third line just because they can do some damage offensively. Not much, but they can do some damage. So those are my thoughts on the possible line combinations. What are your thoughts? What do you think the forward combinations could be? What do you think the D pairs could be? I know I didn't mention Greg Paterin or Julius Honka, who I heard was up and down, but he did have a pretty good preseason. Even Patrick Nemeth, Jim Neal says they're going to carry 8 defensemen. So the question is, who cracks? Sorry, who cracks the top 8? Um, Hitchcock likes to have the top 4. Well, it looks like Klingberg, Mathot, Lindell, and Alexiak are your top 4. So we'll see. Okay, so now moving on to breakout potential. Who could be a breakout star this year for the Stars? Um, I feel like Benzig and Radulov, they all have the potential to break out and have a great year. So I'm actually going to go with the no-namers. Not to say that they don't mean a lot to the team. It's just that they aren't the initial, name that goes out there when you think Dallas Stars hockey. They don't show up. For me, I think it's Matthias Janmark. He was gone all last season. He had some weird incident with his knee. He was gone all year. He could have breakout potential this year. I feel like, again, going back to it, partnering up with Spezza is a recipe for success. And I feel like if he gets power play time, and I know he's going to be working on the penalty kill too, he has potential to get goals, power play goals, shorthanded goals, get assists, get more time on ice. Because Hitchcock might just lean on him, test him out. So I feel like for me, Matthias Janmark is my breakout star this year. Give me your thoughts on who you think, but I feel like Matthias Janmark is going to be a solid breakout player this year. Now, I don't know how many of you are doing fantasy hockey. I am. I've been doing it for the last 5 seasons. Created my own league every single year. I make it a lot of fun. I make it really enjoyable. Um, but for fantasy breakout, besides typical Ben Sagan, Radulov, Spezza, I'm actually going to go with Radek Faksa. Radek Faksa was one of the most underrated picks that we made, and yet he's made an impact since he's been on the team. He can do offense, he can do defense, he can hit. He's solid 2-way player. He does 5-on-5. He does shorthanded. He's had a little crack at power play time. He won't get much power play time, but Hitchcock's going to lean on him in shorthand situations. So he's a bonus for fantasy in that regard, especially in my league. My league, if you can do all 3 phases, you're golden. If you can at least do a lot of phases in the shorthanded department, you are solid. So I feel like Foxa could potentially break out fantasy-wise. Alexiak could break out fantasy-wise. Roussel, Pitlick maybe. Again, I mentioned Pitlick. Pitlick might be another candidate for breakout star of the year or fantasy breakout star of the year. Okay, so potential predictions for the year. So really quickly, I'm just going to give an overview. Central Division, I believe, is the toughest division in the NHL. You got the Blackhawks, you got the Avalanche, which I feel the Avalanche are going to tank again this year. I don't think they're that good. And there's too much drama with Matt Duchene out there, whether he's going to stay, whether he's going to go. So there's too much iffiness up there. But Chicago is always going to be a contender. St. Louis, even though they don't have Hitchcock anymore, they're still going to be a contender, although they have injury issues right now. Nashville with their decor is always going to be a contender. Winnipeg is on the up and up, so it's going to be a challenge again this season. Minnesota is going to be another contender. So in terms of Central Division standing, out of the 7 teams in the Central Division, to be honest, I think the Stars will finish either second or third, really. I feel like they have the potential to finish in the top 3 in the Central Division, especially with the upgraded goaltending. Kari Littinen's now the solid backup, and he will be a good backup. He's not a terrible goaltender. He's solid, but he's not a starting goaltender. Ben Bishop can get back to the form he was a few years ago when the Lightning made it to Stanley Cup Finals. The Stars will be good in the goaltending department. Defense, if they can get their defensive game set up right, their structure correct, I feel like Dallas Stars will be in the top 3. End of the year, top 3. Whether they're 1, 2, or 3, that's a different story, but I say top 3. Okay, so that's the Central Division. Pacific Division, with the addition of the Vegas Golden Knights, which, according to all the preseason results, Vegas can score. Even without James Neal, who was like the star player that they got from Nashville, they can score. They have talent. And getting Marc-Andre Fleury in the expansion draft was a good pick. And I'm going to miss Cody Eakin, but he's going to be a good fit there. He's going to be good. He's going to do them solid minutes and do them solid time. And then the Pacific Division, I think the Oilers will make it back to the playoffs. Connor McDavid is a star for at least the next decade. He's a great player, fast, skillful. Anaheim, they're always iffy. They will make the playoffs. I don't know if they'll get far, but they always make the playoffs. San Jose, I think will be okay. They lost Patrick Marleau to Toronto, but I think that they'll be okay. Calgary, right now it's not looking good. Mike Smith and that goaltending trio that they have up there, it's terrible. So we'll see about Calgary. And then Vancouver, they'll probably get better. You can't count out Henrik and Daniel Sedin at any point in time. And then I know I'm missing some teams, but Pacific Division, if I was to predict who would make the playoffs, I would say Oilers, Ducks, Sharks, maybe the Kings. Kings might squeeze in there. You can never count out Jonathan Quick, Drew Doughty, and Anze Kopitar. Can't count them out. So that's the Western Conference. So the Eastern Conference, the Atlantic's up in the air, in my opinion. Boston, Toronto, Tampa. I feel like they'd be the ones, but then Florida, I mean, it's up in the air. There are a lot of teams who didn't make the playoffs who made moves, so there could be a shakeup in the Atlantic this season. Metropolitan, the reason why I'm quickly going to Metropolitan is because I don't think Washington is a top seed anymore. I think Washington almost fails to make the playoffs this year, and that is me being bold. Just because they did not make any moves to improve or help Alex Ovechkin in any way, shape, or form. And this is another bold prediction. Trade deadline, Alex Ovechkin goes to a different team. I don't think he stays with Washington. If he does, he's traded at the end of the year. He's overstayed his welcome in Washington. Don't get me wrong, he is a goal scorer. He is a great leader. He just can't win in Washington. Of course, whoever does get him, they have to sacrifice a lot to get Ovechkin, but I don't think he survives the year in Washington. Now, if he does survive the year, Washington makes the playoffs, but first round exit, second round exit, he's gone. They're going to trade him, or he's going to ask to be traded. I feel this year, Metropolitan Division wise, Penguins will probably be one of the top teams. Rangers will probably be another one of the top teams. I don't think Washington is a top tier team. I think they lost way too many pieces for them to be considered relevant. They will make the playoffs. I guarantee you that. They are well coached, but they will not get far. So those are my predictions in terms of division. For the year, I mean, I'm a Stars fan, so I'd love to see the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup. And that's me being very, very optimistic. I feel like they can do it. It'd be a great tribute to the 25 years that they've been in Dallas, is for Dallas to win another Stanley Cup in the first season with Ken Hitchcock at the helm again. But if I'm being realistic, Penguins. It's hard for me to go against the Penguins and Sidney Crosby, and I hate to say it, but every year there is just some way that they find a way to win. And they just have so much veteran experience. They know how to win. So I'll say Penguins. And heck, I'd say Penguins Stars Stanley Cup. It goes 7 games. There, I said it. Uh, so I'd like for you all to give me your thoughts on all that I went through so far. Just recently, the predictions for the year by division, your thoughts on the divisions, who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year, who you think is going to make it to the finals. So last thing before I call it a night. Awards. So this past year, the awards, Connor McDavid got a lot of awards. This year, they're already starting to do some early predictions on who's going to win certain awards. Ken Hitchcock was mentioned as a Jack Adams, potential Jack Adams winner. So there's that. Rocket Richard, the most goal scoring. They say Vladimir Tarasenko has the potential to do it. I'm gonna go Steven Stamkos. I say he comes back with a vengeance, and he scores 50 plus goals. Alex Ovechkin will be in the race. I think Tarasenko will be in the race. In terms of the Hart Trophy, that's up in the air. I think either Ben or Sagan, either one. I think Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Mark Scheifele, or Blake Wheeler. I mean, they can rack up points galore. So it's going to be an interesting contest to see who gets the Hart Trophy this year. Best defenseman, that's always up in the air. Give me your thoughts. I mean, you can't go wrong with Drew Doughty. He's a great defenseman. Brent Burns, great defenseman. But those are my quick thoughts. I know there are other awards that we can discuss and go through, the Selkie, the who's going to win the President's Trophy, best team in the Western Conference, best goaltending tandem in the Western Conference, best team in the Eastern Conference, best goalie tandem in the Eastern Conference. But you are more than welcome to give me your thoughts, ask me questions as the year goes on. Like I said, every Saturday I'll try to make a video summarizing what's gone on through the week. Like I said, I will mainly talk Dallas Stars hockey and what's up and what's down. But I'm more than welcome to talk about anything about the league as well and what's going on. Players, coaches, what's going on in each division. Also talk fantasy. I'm open to talking fantasy as well. So please put your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Ask me any questions you want. I will answer them as quickly as I can. And I will look forward to doing another video next weekend. And that will be the start of the season. So go Stars.